Well, my name is Hal Shurtleff with the John Birch Society, and I'm here with Larry Cleveland in beautiful Rindge, New Hampshire, which is in the southwest corner of the state, not too far from Mount Monadnock, just from the next town. And Larry is the founder of Save Our Town, which we're going to discuss here, but let's give a little background. In the winter of 2012, and right now we're in May of 2014, Rindge had what they call a charrette, and here is a copy of the charrette. A charrette is a visionary session, and they used the word charrette because visionary session was getting controversial. People were catching on that visionary session meant usually that some outside forces were coming in to implement things dealing with Agenda 21. And by the way, you can actually get a copy of this if you go to the plannednewhampshire.org website. You can see the number of them over the years when first they were called visionary sessions and they changed it to charrette. So anyway, we have a makeshift studio here, so you're going to have to forgive us here. We're on a back porch. We like the back porch. You can still build porches here on your property here in Rindge.
You have to have a permit, but you can still build them.
You still build them, right, yes. So you have to ask permission to build on your property,
yes,
right?
on your own property.
But anyway, so I got wind of this in the spring of 2012. I was visiting the town hall. Now, I get up here quite a bit on a regular basis, and I was handing out copies of this reprint to the selectmen. I was just leaving them at their mailboxes, and that's when I found that little charrette, that little printout there. And I saw the word charrette. I knew exactly what it was, and I wrote a letter to the paper here in the region. It comes out twice a week. The Ledger.
Yep.
Monadnock Ledger. They didn't run the letter for some reason, but we posted it on the Town of Rindge Facebook page, which, by the way, has since changed their policy. You can't post on there anymore. And within probably a couple of days, the so-called progressives in town, those that know what's best for the docile rural folk, they didn't like the fact that I wrote this letter. And it basically was simply warning people what this was about. And I know a number of people saw the vehement, the contempt and disgust in the responses I got. They couldn't believe the nasty comments I was getting. They were questioning my moral character. I mean, they were calling me some vile names, and I'm just laying out facts. And so a number of people contacted me, including you, and so you can probably pick it up from there.
In January of 2013, right down the street here is West Rindge Methodist Church, and they had what they were calling a visioning session down there, and it was to do with the revitalization of West Rindge Village.
That's a nice car, by the way. Just go by.
It's for sale. And I says, well, you know, my family has over 125, 130 years of heritage in this village. And I says, what is this all about? So I went down and I listened. And it was Planned New Hampshire. It was Roger Hawk Associates. And they were kind of explaining the charrette and what they wanted to do, the village, changing the zoning, doing all kinds of just bad stuff here that we didn't want. And the room was filled with mostly people from the village area. And we voiced our opposition to it. We said, we don't want this. Who brought this in here? We knew nothing about this. So again, they had another meeting in June of the same year, and I attended that one. And I still didn't know quite what this was all about, but I knew it was bad. I knew it was wrong. It was nothing that we wanted.
Right.
Who was bringing this in?
That's right.
So come around August, I get contacted by a few people, including yourself, to let me know what this was all about, and it was Agenda 21. Yep. And I said, well, what is this Agenda 21 thing? I usually don't speak and I don't run my mouth about things that I don't know about, so I said, I need to research this before I say anything about this. So I researched it, and I was astounded of what Agenda 21 means to not just this village, this town, this state, but the country itself. Yeah. And I said, this isn't good. So the more I researched, the more I learned that everything plays into it, from education to everything rolls into Agenda 21. It controls every aspect of your life.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, we can't have this. We have to stop this. So that's how I found out about it.
And let me get a little bit back to Planned New Hampshire. If you go to their charrette, which I showed you a few seconds ago, you'd see the players, the contractors, the developers, the real estate people, all have a vested
Absolutely.
monetary interest in it, claiming to, oh, we're here to help you, we're here to save the world and all that. There are ideologues, and I think Pat Martin, Mrs. Pat Martin, who is probably the leading antagonist in this town that helped bring it in, just makes such ridiculous accusations. But she's probably what we call a true believer. She believes all this. You know, we have global warming, we get too many people on the planet, we have to have a benevolent UN. While they deny it, it's interesting too, they deny any connection. And when you see the word sustainable development, you see the word smart growth, and if they don't use the term smart, because they're changing the words now, the terminology.
That's right.
But when you see on a map at the charrette, when the minute I saw that little circle around 119 and 202, the crossroads of town here, I said, this is the smart growth zone. And this is where they're going to have the mixed-use housing. It's going to be funded by HUD. And it's great if I'm a developer and I don't care about morality. If HUD's going to fund 80% of my project, boy, that's great. And to guarantee me 100% occupancy, you see. And but it completely changes the town. And it, not only does it change the town, but it costs millions of dollars. And Rindge, by the way, it's about 50 square miles. It's a population of about 5,000 people.
Yeah, that varies a little bit from who you talk to, but somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000.
So it's a relatively small town, and you think this is happening all over the country. In the height of a recession with a $18 trillion national debt, they seem to have plenty of money to fund these types of projects. And it's not just a smart growth, but you'll see a solar farm, so-called, all of a sudden pop up. And these people like the idea of open spaces. Yeah, so they can put their solar panels there, right? And all subsidized by the federal government. And this is coming through something called the HUD. HUD is the federal entity created by Franklin Roosevelt in the 1930s. It should be abolished, by the way, Housing Urban Development. And they have something called Sustainable Development Initiative. When you hear the government talking about initiative, it doesn't mean it's coming from the grassroots. It's coming from the top, and they're buying it in. And people, and the townspeople, selectmen, they say, well, getting money from the federal government, hey, why not? But that, when you get money from the federal government, people say strings attached. I use the word chains. And sometimes here's the money that we'll introduce, you know, 50,000, 100, whatever it is. But then you guys got to maintain it. That's right. So you have this albatross, this white elephant. You know, hey, this was a great idea. All of a sudden, hey, we can't afford to do this. But HUD will come in and sue you. And you'll do some research on HUD Westchester County. In Westchester County, HUD actually sets the guidelines, affordable housing all over the country. And these towns have to meet these goals. That's why HUD needs to be abolished. And now, so here we are in August, and you're going to really become almost an expert pretty much on the subject of Agenda 21. And what happened in October? That's kind of...
Well, through the months of August and September, we started reaching out to people. We had a lot of people involved with this and said, you know, we have to do, what can we do? What can we do to get the word out to the people? Because we were told that, you know, everybody knows about this charrette. This has been going on for years. Everybody knows. This isn't something new.
Right, right. Yeah.
Maybe you didn't hear about it. Everybody else. This is what everybody wants.
And the picture in that charrette, it showed about 30 people on hand.
Yeah.
And all of them were the players that brought it in. You know?
So I says, well, everybody I'm talking to has never heard of this. So I says, you know, we got to hold a meeting. So I went and I actually had to pay money to rent a room at our recreation center, and I had to actually buy an insurance policy for that meeting. And we sent out these flyers. This was the very first flyer that we sent out. Very simple to do, not terribly expensive. If you have a lot of good people like we had chip in their own hard-earned money to pay for this.
So you did a mailing to every residence,
right? We did
right?
almost 2,200 flyers and went out to one to every mailbox. Yeah. And we thought if we got 30 or 40 people to this meeting, we'd be doing pretty good. Yeah. We packed the room. The newspaper reported 200 people being there. There was standing room only. The place was crammed. And I have to tell you that out of that 200 people, there were probably 5 people in that room that knew about this.
5 people.
And they showed up because they were in opposition to us.
Oh, sure.
So everybody else was terribly upset about this. They said, what is going on? What are you doing to our town? So you see, not very many people knew about this. They kept it a pretty good secret.
In other words, they were lying or deceiving people.
I think it was more deceit than lying.
Yeah.
I think that they didn't want a lot of people to know because they knew this was going to happen, that we would fight this.
Yeah.
So it worked out very well, and then that just started everything. From there, we went to just campaigning against this thing and getting people involved and getting the facts out there.
And you had some what they call warrant articles on the ballot. And a warrant article is like a town referendum, right?
It is. It is a.
There's probably different terminology in
is-
different parts of the country.
It is a petition warrant article, whereas we had our lawyers draft up specific worded petitions, pass them around, and we needed so many signatures to get them on the ballot, and we did. And we not only mailed this flyer up, but we mailed out 3 other flyers, informational flyers.
And by the way,
all factual.
All this is coming from local people. There was no outside money.
No.
There were no big foundations, greedy capitalists that want to take over Rindge.
No, I'm going to tell you right up front, it cost us approximately $4,000 to do this. It wasn't millions of dollars.
Yeah,
It wasn't
yeah.
hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was about $4,000.
And it wasn't taxpayers' money coming from HUD.
You know, it wasn't a grant.
Yeah.
We chipped in our own hard-earned money to do this. And we ended up, as a result, we got 3 petitions on the warrant. And 3 articles on the warrant, I should say. One of them was to remove our membership from the Southwest Regional Planning Commission. They are one of the major driving forces behind all these schemes.
And by the way, our friend Tim Carter from New Hampshire wrote this great article about HUD and Granite State Future, the real facts. And we actually reprinted it in a little booklet format that goes into how the regional planning commissions that were set up by the state back in the 60s as sort of a support team. And now they've actually taken on the goal of sort of running the towns themselves.
Yeah, they've changed gears big time in the last 10 years or so.
So you were able to get that out of your town.
So we get
membership.
that on the ballot. We also put another one on there to remove the charrette from the master plan. And the third one was to require voter approval for all HUD grants from going forward.
And that, to me, I think is probably the most profound. Was that your idea?
It was.
Or
I can't honestly
maybe
say whose idea it was.
Maybe you guys had your own
again, we
charrette,
had a lot of great people working with us on this. So.
Because I think what's happened in this town, I think, is should be encouraging to everybody around the country, even parts of the world, where you can still do these kinds of things. Because it looked like it was a done deal. The other side had it sewed up, and you come on the scene, and you get a few other people, and before you know it. And the election was what? The votes were like 4-1, 5-1?
Well, to remove the Regional Planning Commission and to voter approval of the HUD grants, we won those for about a 2 to 3 margin.
2 to 3, yeah.
It was, we pretty sound vote.
Yeah. 2 to 3, you mean like percentage-wise?
Yeah. I should say that. It was, I guess, the numbers, I don't remember the numbers now exactly, but we won by easily 400 votes on each one.
Yeah.
We had approximately 1,500 people vote that.
It looked more like a 4-1 or 3-1 margin.
Well, the big one was to remove the charrette from the plant.
Yeah, and
that was 1,082 to like 381.
By the way, maybe for some folks, what's a master plan? Some people might live in big cities, don't quite.
Towns now have these master plans that's required by the state.
Yeah.
And they basically have to lay out what the town intends to do for the next 5, 10, whatever the years is that they have to reach out to.
Right. Yeah.
And whatever gets put in that master plan, they're kind of held to have to do that.
Implement it, yeah.
The only people that can remove or add something to the master plan is the planning board. So
sure.
even though we voted this to remove it from the master plan, like again, it was 1,082 to 381, I believe. It was still basically just we were asking the planning board to do that. They didn't have to do that if they didn't want.
Right.
But they saw that it was such a huge vote that they did the right thing, and they decided to remove it from the master plan.
Now, there were some selectmen and planning board members that brought this charrette into town, but also in the election, just a few months ago in March, a few people that are more freedom-oriented got elected as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
We had 3 people run that we thought would be good. We got one of our selectmen in, and we got 2 people on the planning board.
And what is Save Our Town doing now?
Save Our Town still has a committee. we're about probably, we still have several members, but our actual committee, we have about 12 people. And we meet once a month, and we make a schedule up. And we make sure that we have at least 2 members at every planning board and every select board meeting. We take notes, and we meet once a month, and we discuss those notes and discuss whether it's something that we should be involved in, what's going on in the town. And then just hearsay, we hear around town, hey, have you heard this, have you heard that? And we decide if it's something that we should be getting involved in. And so far there are a couple issues that we will be getting involved in.
Now, you mentioned a solar panel project that was just nixed in the bud here.
Yeah, some people just won't go away, I guess.
Yeah.
They just keep pushing and pushing and pushing all their liberal agendas. One of them was a $400,000 solar panel project at the recreation field. From what I hear recently, that's not going to happen.
What's ironic is that these folks like their idea of open spaces, and they turn around and want to put solar panels in these open spaces.
Well, from the early numbers that I heard, the recreation department is somewhere around $37,000 a year electric bill.
Yeah.
$37,000 a year in
Yeah.
electricity is the figures I believe I heard at one of the meetings. This was going to pay for the electric for up to 10 years. Well, you break it even. Maybe, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
A solar panel is only good for about 10 years.
Sometimes it's 20 years before you break even.
Yeah.
That's if the sun
But
comes
if the
out,
solar
yeah.
panel is only good for 10 years,
Yeah,
you're
it's
never
a
gonna.
wash.
But
You're getting federal money and maybe even state money. So what the heck? Who cares? So I mean, if the federal government was paying my electric bill, I could say, gee, I'm saving money. But you're
well,
really
it was
not.
$200,000 grant, and it was $200,000 from the townspeople.
Yeah.
Is
yeah.
what it was going to end
Yeah.
up being.
Yeah.
But luckily that fell through.
Yeah.
So that's, and we wouldn't have known about that if we didn't have SOT members at these meetings.
At these meetings, yes.
So
yeah.
it's very valuable that we are staying involved. I think we kind of took them by surprise. I think that some people on the boards thought that we were going away after the election, and now they know we're not.
A lot of times that happens. So people do go away. They go back to the golf course, back to the fishing, hunting, or the baseball games. This is what's so important, is that you have to maintain your vigilance, because these folks will not go away, and they think they have the time. They're going to keep on doing it. So we have to stay up. And I think what's happened here in Rindge is remarkable, because you're talking about within a course of just a few months, we're able to totally upset their agenda.
Absolutely.
And of course, I know you told me that there were some flyers put up in town, and a business was threatened, take that flyer down and we'll boycott your business. They play dirty.
Absolutely.
And but when they do that, that means you're having an impact.
Well, we got called the ultimate liberal call name. We were all racist.
Racist, right? Yeah.
We
Nothing else works.
We were
Use that,
vilifying
yeah.
the poor because
Yeah.
we didn't want a bunch of poor people moving into town.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we were vilifying the poor, and we
Yeah.
were racist.
Racist, yeah. yeah.
Which couldn't be further from the truth.
It's kind of ironic when you live in a town that's about, you have a very small minority population, and I'm sure they moved here from the inner cities, and then they go out and call people who've been here for you've been here for your family's been here for generations, and you're a racist.
On this piece of property.
Yeah, so it's kind of but you see, that's a desperate tactic they use. And I think a lot of times people say, you know they've lost when they start using that. And I think just recently, just today, there was a blog written about how the John Birch Society is taking over Rindge. And I'm a field rep for the John Birch Society. I wish we had a lot more members in Rindge, but as far as I know, we have one dues-paying member that didn't join until October, while this was already underway. So, but again, they try to do that. If it's not John Birch Society, it'd be Tea Party, or it'd be something else that the liberals see as a negative thing. We're basically sort of like the Paul Revere, and this notion that an out-of-towner from Boston come up here to take over the town. Well, Paul Revere was an out-of-towner, and your wonderful Rindge Patriot Minutemen militia marched to answer the call.
That's correct.
And fought at Bunker Hill. And it's interesting too. They use this out-of-town thing. Well, most of these folks are from out of town. If you look at the charrette, all these people, and they're taking money from Washington D.C. and HUD. That's a lot long. That's in Washington D.C. It's a lot longer than it is further away than Boston. So.
People need to understand with all these grants that these liberals look at it as free money. And
That's
I've
right.
heard that term
Yeah.
so many times since I got involved in it. Well, it's free money. If we don't take it, somebody else
will.
will.
Right.
Well, it has to stop somewhere. People don't realize how much less taxes they would be paying
That's right.
if the government wasn't overtaxing us in the first place by millions and millions of dollars and then giving us back little $1,000
That's
here,
right, yep.
5,000
Right.
here, 10,000
That's
there,
right.
and saying, look what the government's doing for you.
That-
We have, someone says, well, someone else is going to take it. Well, it has to stop somewhere. And I think Rindge could be a good role model for that, is that people can turn around and say, look, Rindge is a proud town. They're not going to take assistance from the government. They're going to do what
We
they
don't need
can,
it, yeah.
and we need to concentrate on our needs, not our wants.
That's right, yeah.
We have to stop being more fiscally
And you said something
conservative.
important, that we didn't take it. It's almost, let's say, if we don't take it, somebody else will.
Yes.
Well, if somebody showed up here with someone just stolen a television set and was going to sell it to you for $50, and well, if you don't buy it, the guy down the street's going to buy it. Well, then he's accepting stolen property. The sage from Baltimore, H.L. Mencken, said elections are nothing more than auctions for future stolen goods, and I think it has a lot to say. Oh, what can we get from the government? But for every dollar you give them, you might get 5 cents back, and you think they're doing a big favor. So, what is your concluding comments to the viewers here?
Get involved. That old saying, you can't fight City Hall, we proved that wrong. Get involved. Stay involved. We're already hearing people on the planning board saying that they're going to come after us this year and they're going to undo what we worked so hard to get done in this town. If we went away, they would succeed in that. You have to get involved, you have to stay involved, and you can fight City Hall, and you can win.
Because also they said don't fight City Hall, become City Hall, get elected. Get your
That
people
was
in there.
another big thing. Yeah, you have to find good people with your mindset that want to run for office, and luckily we did that.
And let me recommend to the viewers too. This is the article that was done. I mentioned earlier, Tim Carter. It's available on our script page, script.com. Also, I'd be happy to get some hard copies to you. And also, this little booklet, Agenda 21 and You, put up by the John Birch Society. Also a good way to go. We have a website, jbs.org/agenda21. You get lots of great information. And you have a Facebook page.
I do.
Called Save Our Town.
Yes.
And I'm sure people on Facebook can message you.
They can get on there. It's very easy to do. Just go on there, search it out. I forget how we have our privacy setups. If you can just post on there, if you need.
Well, they can at least message you, because
but you can absolutely message me.
I think you have a template here, a successful template that can be replicated around the country.
We have a neighboring town now, New Ipswich.
That's
they are
right.
about to
They're
have
about to
their
do it,
first
yeah,
charrette
yeah.
in September.
Yeah.
I've reached out to them. It wasn't just people in this town that fought this. I had great people from around the state. I had Susan Olson.
Oh yes, yeah.
I had
yeah.
Jane Aiken.
Yeah.
I had Jane Cormier. I had
Cormier,
Ken Eyring.
Yeah,
I
Ken's
mean,
phenomenal. And actually,
Ken came here and gave a
Ken
presentation.
did a lot of the research with this article.
Ken came to town and gave a presentation for us.
Yeah.
Valuable people.
Yeah.
They will come and help you out just as they did to us.
And there are people all over the country that are up on top of this issue. And it was interesting, just a few years ago, there was very little understanding or even interest in this. And now the Agenda 21 folks are having a lot of trouble. In fact, the Southern Poverty Law Center recently did an article, and I was referencing the article and how these right-wingers are making it very difficult to implement these policies. So
more and more states are
keep it
jumping
up.
on board. They are
Yeah.
banning Agenda 21.
That's right.
And that's what we need to do, ban Agenda 21.
That's right. Well, Larry, I want to thank you, and
Thank you,
we'll
sir.
definitely be in touch. And the viewers, please, thank you for watching, and also check us out, jbs.org. We're also on the website. There's some great Facebook pages too. It's Stop UN Agenda 21, Stop ICLEI, and many others. What's the one? The Crush Agenda 21. That's
Crush
one.
Agenda
yeah.
21 is a Facebook page. Democrats Against a UN Agenda
That's right.
21
Yes, that's
is a great
Yeah,
page.
there are
It's
some
Rosa
people
Glory.
on the left that are against this as
Yep,
well. So
absolutely.
with that, I want to thank you, and we'll see you down the road.